Hello everyone, I am Vi. I am e-commerce marketing expert at Omnisend. And let's be honest, email can be hard. And I'm sure that you would rather be doing more exciting things for your business, or at least the fun things of email marketing. But that's exactly why we're here today, to make your life a little bit more easier. So today I'm excited to introduce Scott, who is the CEO at Inbox Army. And Inbox Army are your full-service email marketing agency. Scott is going to walk us through the important foundations of e-commerce email marketing. And you can use this toolkit whether you're setting things up from scratch or to audit your existing workflows. So Scott, would you like to say hello?
Hey everybody. Vi, thanks for having me. I I love talking about this stuff because it's the foundations are the things that people kind of forget about. So nice little reminder, or hey, if you're just getting started, a good starting point for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting your basics right is like 80% of your work done. Because when it comes to strategy, you cannot really fix it later, or at least it's a lot of hassle and a lot of effort there. So things to know before Scott takes over, this session is being recorded and you will receive an email in a couple of days with the recording in there, also the slides and other resources that we'll be sharing with you. And if you have any questions at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A tab. So pop those questions in there and we will cover those at the end of the Q&A session. So Scott, the stage is yours.
Well, again, thanks for having me. I really get passionate about these foundations of email marketing because I spend a non-trivial amount of my time asking clients about these programs they have in place, mostly to remind them they exist. We think, oh, welcome and all these other things. Oh, they're just table stakes, which they are, but they're vitally important because you're getting, often folks get really focused on the shiny objects. What's AI doing? Or, hey, I want to get these promotions in front of people. And you forget about these important touch points. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about these foundational pieces of good email programs and how they align with those critical moments in your life cycle. Now, I realize that, we have many different types of brands on this call, many different types of companies on this call. Your life cycle is going to look a little different, but you'll be able to translate what I'm talking about today into what you're doing. And then those key questions to ask, what you're asking your customers to do and what you need to ask yourself about those programs. Odds are, and I hope this is the case, that you have a lot of these programs, if not all of these programs in place already. That's great. It'll be a refresher, maybe hey, maybe I need to go back and rethink some of these things or make sure I have these pieces in place. If you don't, welcome to the club. We've all been there. So as Vi said, a little bit about me, Scott Cohen, CEO of Inbox Army. We're a full service agency. I've been doing email for nearly 2 decades now. I've run programs on the brand side at Purple, 1-800-CONTACT, Smile Direct Club. So I've not only been on the agency side, but I've sat in your shoes. So this comes from a lot of experience and mistakes. Let's be frank, mistakes that I've made in the past. And yes, I'm a big fan of The Princess Bride, so please enjoy some of these fun little gifts as we go. But let's start here. Email, as Vi said, email is hard. And that's because email covers a lot of ground. We have to generate revenue. We have to do promotions. We have to personalize. There's always that balance between being super strategic and smart, and we just have to make money and keep the lights on. Email also is in a lot of different places in the life cycle that other channels aren't. I've never seen a paid Facebook ad to get somebody to renew their subscription, for example. Never seen that. Never seen a display ad going, hey, reset your password. So we cover a lot of ground. So take a deep breath. You're not alone. And for today, just remember, these are people on your list. People will act weird. They will do interesting things. The number of times that I've said, oh, I'll never act like a regular customer, and then I act like a regular customer happens all the time. And I would think I'm a pretty unique focus group. Everything I bring up here today these are starting points, right? So if you don't have anything, you can start there. You can think about these as testing ideas. That's the great thing about email is you can test everything. And probably most importantly, I haven't been proven wrong yet, but I have yet to see somebody die from an email. So at the end of the day, we're sending email. It's okay. So often I get asked when I get started with a client, where do I start? What do I do first? And what I do first always is I take a look at the customer life cycle. I take a look at their life cycle and I go, okay, where are the decisions that customers have to make in your process? What are you asking them to do? For ecom, a really easy ecom, it's heck, we want them to make a purchase. Duh. But what are the decisions that go into making that purchase? Could it be a subscription to your email list? Could it be filling a cart? Could it be, do they have to call? All those things. So you start doing that and you map it out. This is a very high level, but it could look something like this, right? Hey, they do a search, they ask for something on Chat GPT or Perplexity, your name comes up, they go to your site, they start looking around. Or, hey, you're doing Instagram ads or TikTok ads and you start driving traffic that way, right? They come to your site. I know in some cases TikTok is starting a shop and there's a whole different animal there. And we're not even going to get into that because that's a level of complexity I don't want to deal with today. We're just talking about the standard flow that you might see. So they'll browse, they may abandon, they may subscribe and give an email address, they may fill a cart. Again, it's about determining where those big decision points are, mapping it to your desired journey. And even though it looks linear, it won't be linear necessarily, right? And we are far away from the days where people would sign up for an email, wait 3 days, convert, go do a cart, convert in this order. Sometimes they come in and they buy right away. Sometimes they need a lot of hand holding. You're selling a hugely expensive product, you're going to have to do more to get them over the line because odds are they're not buying the same day they raise their hand with you. So once you have this mapped out, you start converting into initiatives, right? What does that look like for email? Now, there's a lot here. When you get the deck, you get the recording, look at these. I'm not going to go through them all. The ones I have in red are the ones that I'm going to talk about in depth today. But you'll see there's a lot of opportunity for even just automations, let alone segments for your promotional email, things of that sort. But email's job is to fill, I like to say the journey is a bucket and you have to fill the holes. What's the old cartoons where, the wall and the water's coming through and you start poking your fingers in trying to stop all the water? This is what email does. It fills in all of these gaps over time. You're not going to do all this at once, but you're going to fill these in. But remember this, these dots, these arrows, they mean something, right? They mean people. You're talking to people. And again, as I said before, what do people have? They have needs. They have wants. And sometimes those two are conflated, right? They think they need something, but they actually just want something. That's okay. They have a lot of questions and they have a lot of expectations. And I think years ago, I saw a tweet that said it takes 10,000 tweets to build a reputation and one to shatter it. So not to spook you, but expectations, that's how, you have expectations for how it's going to be. Email can't break that confidence. And so really what you have to think about when you're thinking about your programs and you're thinking about people, you have to deliver value. So just a reminder, every email you send must deliver value in some way. The email journey has to be seamless. You have to reduce friction as much as possible. The experience between email and your conversion endpoint, whether it's your website, whether you're driving people to be in store, they're calling in to make orders, whatever it might be, needs to be easy to navigate. People don't like to make decisions. And when friction happens, they go, I'm out. Even if they're not rational. So you got to make it obvious what you want done. Don't make people think about it. Then use email to educate your customers on the benefits of your product or service, whatever it might be. Fill in those gaps, answer those questions. And then you have to answer what's next, because every email you send is an opportunity to deliver value or fail. Just setting the stage here, just setting the stage, because this is a lot. And you're probably sitting there going, my God, there's a lot of work here. Yes, there is. But you don't have to boil the ocean. You don't have to do all of this at once. So you have to prioritize. And that's where I like to come in, right? Where do you go? You got to prioritize. Where do you begin? And you start with where you make the most impact, those first experiences that can make or break your brand. And where are those? These firsts. Focus on the first touches where people raise their hands for the first time. I'm going to do this in a little bit of a reverse order, because you have people who come in, they somehow have done all the research, or an Instagram ad did a great job selling them. And they're like, oh my God, impulse buy, I'm going to buy it. Or maybe it's not an impulse buy and your ads have done a great job. But that first purchase is important. It's an important touch point with your brand, and email has to back that up. Or they come in, they get really close to making that purchase, they fill that cart, and then they go, well, hold on, I'm not so sure about this. And then they back away. And then, of course, the obvious one, the initial subscription, the people who raise their hand. Now, in some cases, they're really ready to buy, and then let's be frank, they sign up for email to get that 15% off at the end of the day. So, because hey, I had a boss years ago, and I'm not going to be too lurid on the language, but he used to tell me all the time, people don't buy from you until they think they're screwing you. So, I mean, you've probably see it all the time to people who get that coupon code and instantly buy. You go, great, awesome, I did my job. And you go, well, they were actually probably going to buy at full price, but why not take 15% off? And then, in all of these, customers are asking for information. They're asking, or maybe it's a receipt. They're providing personal information at each of these phases in exchange for value in some way. You get this wrong, you're doomed. But the good thing is, these 3 programs will make probably 60 to 70% of your automated revenue. So the juice is definitely worth the squeeze here. All right, let's talk about getting the purchase. You got the purchase. Woo! Okay, first things first. Send an order confirmation email. Whether it's through Omnisend directly or through whatever your, e-com backend is, Shopify, whatever it might be. Paper trail, receipt. I didn't make a slide for it. It's table stakes, but I'm going to say it out loud. Send that order confirmation, because still to this day, and maybe I'm showing my age a little bit, but if I don't get an order confirmation, say within a couple of minutes, I'm going, did they just take my money and run? Did the order go through? I don't know. So send that order confirmation. You need that paper trail. Make sure it's sent as soon as possible. Contains what was purchased. For some folks, they're buying for businesses. They need that for expenses. Like that's critical, right? You can't leave people hanging there. But ultimately, the goal once you get a purchase is to get people onboarded. And the reason that this is important, you want to get customers to use your product successfully, use your service successfully. The more they use it, the more likely they are to, if you do have maybe you're selling SaaS, or maybe you're selling, natural nutrition here in this example. If they don't use it, they won't buy again. So get them to use the product. Delivering value here is huge, because buyer's remorse is real. How many times have you bought something and been like, did I make the right decision? I don't know. Can I trust these people? Will this work? Obviously you have a gap. Not everybody is Amazon, right? You're not going to be able, I live in Salt Lake City. Was telling Vi before we jumped on this that I have an Amazon distribution facility in Salt Lake City. I can order now and probably get it in 4 hours. I don't even have time for buyer's remorse with that. Most of you on this call, if not all of you on this call, you're maybe looking at 2 days, 3 days at least before a product shows up. That's a lot of time for customers to go, oh no, what did I do? So deliver that feel good messaging, lay out the steps for, how easy it is to get started. What can you do? I worked at Purple. It's a mattress company. We sent out emails going, get your room ready. Here's what to expect in the first 3 weeks, things of that sort. Hey, it's on its way. And you get people to feel good about that. Be open and transparent about shipping. Where is that product? I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute, more specifically about that. But you need to over communicate. This is a time where as long as you don't come across and just start hammering them with offers you send to everybody else, you don't need to worry about communication here. Hey, we've got you. Maybe there's a message from your CEO going, hey, this is why I founded the company. I'm so glad you're going to start this. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can communicate here and get people to feel good about it. But if you don't communicate, this is true for everything. But if you don't communicate, customers will make up their own stories about what's going on. And then you're creating a situation when there could be spin or there could be more concern when it shows up. Will it meet their expectations? So try to allay those fears as much as possible. So let's look at a bit more specifically the questions you need to answer in that content, right? How do I use your product or service? Are there any adjustment periods that you need to, or learning curves or tricks to adoption, right? Some products are going to be really easy to understand right out of the box. Some products, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve or a getting used to using it. LifeSum here is a great example. They gamify this email. It's a great, hey, do this, do that, get started. Once it becomes more of the part of their life, they're going to be using it. The stickiness factor is there, right? Or the pulp press, it's cleanse time. Here's what's going to happen. Here's how to maximize it. So you're ready to go once that product hits your doorstep. And then what are the expectations for delivery? We'll talk about that again a bit more, but always keep that front and center. And then for you, the questions internally, what is that learning curve? The longer it is, the more you need to communicate, the more you need to get out there. And then for you, you can also start thinking about, does your product have a next logical product? I mean, the obvious ones you can think about, I have an air purifier in my office. Next logical product, filters. Right? I'm old. I have a printer right up there on my bookshelf. If I buy a laptop, you could still sell a printer, right? Or printer, ink. What are the next logical products? Sometimes in that middle space, you can go, hey, you bought this. Other people bought these things to go along with it. And if you don't know where to begin, just start, going, hey, here are some best sellers that are great companion products to what you've just bought, and then start iterating down your product catalog. But let's talk about why shipping and fulfillment is so important. Now, obviously, if you're selling some sort of SaaS products, it's an app or it's, whatever it might be that you get them to use, your onboarding becomes super important, right? How you get them to use it, everything else. But, I think pretty much all of us here on this call are from e-commerce directly. You're shipping a product, there's a wait time. As we've mentioned before, shipping is super important. Your fulfillment process is critical. I think we all remember COVID days and how ridiculous it was to get products and how long it took to get products. Here in the States, we're dealing with tariffs and, there are potential supply chain delays now and, people having trouble filling their products and things of that sort because of that. That's problem number one. Problem number two, your customers don't care. They don't. They want their stuff. So the shipping process really dictates everything in terms of feedback and referrals and everything else. Because, I started believing in your brand. Yeah, I think that product will really help me. I never got it. Or yeah, I was supposed to get it in a week and it took a month and nobody told me anything about it. So really in terms of feedback, it's did I get it? How does it work? Okay, now I have an opinion of the brand. So in those three phases, that's where it becomes important because they may love the product, they may love the brand, but they may never buy from you again. If now you can't control shipping, but you can control how you talk about shipping. I want to make that clear. I'm not asking email marketers to go down to their warehouse and go, what's going on, guys? Like that's not fair. But what do? You turn email into a mechanism to build confidence, to build credibility. I keep talking about over communication. You know, if there are changes, you got to be out front and transparent about changes. I mean, some of my favorite brands are the ones that I go, oh my God, you sent me an email saying it was shipped. You sent me an email saying it's coming in tomorrow. You then sent me a text saying it's coming tomorrow. Then you sent me an email saying it's out for delivery. And then you sent me an email right after I got it, which some of those can be freakishly fast. Like sometimes I think the email shows up before my product shows up on my door. But you know what? Those are great because people go, oh, they're taking care of me. That they really want to know what's going on. You know, provide tracking information inside the email, make it easy to track. If you have the option, you can leverage dynamic imagery. You know, there's partners out there that can do that, and you can load in a shipping tracking. So maybe they only keep the shipping confirmation, not the other emails, but every time they open that email, go, where is that? Let me go find the tracking link. Boom, the image shows up and shows where it is. But make it easy to know what's in the order, what's in each shipment. Because sometimes, I mean, I know, like, for example, with Amazon, but there are others where you order two products and they're in two different shipments. You got to track both of them. If you have an app, use email to drive to the app. Use push to remind folks where things are. Have tracking in your app if you can. You know, it's all about transparency, clarity, being out front with that communication. If there are delays, communicate delays. Don't just let it sit out there. Hey, I'm so sorry, it's been delayed. You know, and you may have rule sets where it's delayed again. Okay, now we may want to give them something, right? If it keeps getting delayed. The goal with these emails is that you become your call center's best friend because there is nothing worse to call centers than when they get it's Wismo, where is my order? You don't, if you can be transparent in email, you reduce those calls significantly. Your call center loves you, absolutely loves you. Now, people are going to call whether you like it or not. But if you can reduce the that down to the people that call no matter what you do, your call center will be happy.
Scott, before we move on, we have a
Yeah.
question from Kathy on this. I think it's a good time to cover it. She asks, at what point during fulfillment tracking emails is it too many emails? Because she says she feels like she doesn't need that many details for the customers as a customer.
Uh, One, I'll say beware of being a focus group of one. Two, I would say let your customers be your bellwether for that, right? So I would start, if you can, start with more. It's always easier to cut than to add. So like the example, like, hey, it's out for delivery. Hey, it's been delivered. That delivery goes, hey, it's been delivered. Now start using it. You know, hey, here's what you can do. Here are tips and tricks. Like you can use that. You may, you know, I look at that and go, maybe I don't need the one that says is out for delivery today. I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't need the one it's expected tomorrow. You know, you could sit there and look at that. And then I would say, look at the data and show which ones get engagement, which ones don't get engagement. And then you can start chopping from there. But that what might be too much for you could be just the right amount for a lot of people, or frankly, for some people, could not be enough. So, you know, trust me, I look at that and go, wow, they really sent a lot. Okay. I get excited when it's out for delivery today. I don't need the one about it's coming tomorrow because I go, yeah, I've heard that one before. But that's me in a focus group of one. So that would be my how many is too many? It's something that you have to determine through data.
Absolutely.
That's a
And I
bit
would
of a
also,
wishy-washy answer, but that's the truth, right?
I think that you touched on very good points that, testing again, seeing how people react to those emails and look at the data, like which emails were opened, and you'll see, okay, those are necessary, these are unnecessary. And from my experience, because I would always have the same questions, like when is it too many? From my experience, people usually do not penalize you for sending too many emails on their order shipment. Like if you were bombarding them with campaigns, then it's a different story. But when you're communicating about their orders, usually, like even if it's also a little bit, I wouldn't say annoying, but like, oh my God, another email about it, it's actually, again, over communication usually works to your advantage as a brand.
Because it's relevant, right? Oh, I gave you my money. I don't have my thing yet. And when you go, hey, it's here, it's on its way or it's coming, or hey, it's here, people, I work from home. I'm lucky, but there are people who still go into the office and go, oh, cool, it's waiting for me when I get home. Right. So there's it, I would be hesitant to walk away from it, but you also don't, like I said in the beginning, if you don't have all of them, you don't need to have all of them right away. So I would say, at a minimum, certainly have your shipping confirmation email. Like, absolutely, hey, it's on its way. It's going out the door. You can track live updates here, blah, 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 whatever you might want to do. And then maybe the second one is delivered, right? Hey, delivery confirmation. It's been delivered because I've definitely gotten emails for that. And the product was not sitting outside my door. And I had to call the company and go, I don't know where you sent this, but it ain't at my door. So I would say those two is where I would start, and then you start filling in the middle. And you can also, for the folks that sign up for SMS updates, you can divide and conquer, right? You don't necessarily need to duplicate. You could go like, hey, SMS, you could do email for the front and the back, and then add SMS for it's out for delivery today. Track your live updates here, click, right? So you could do it that way. And getting people to sign up for it. People will sign up for SMS all day long for stuff like that. And again, you're not likely to get people going, oh my God, stop telling me my order's coming. Like, you're not going to see that. You are going to see the stop sending me email every day I just bought from you. That's what you're going to see. And that kind of leans into this next discussion here, which is, find what works, right? Find what works for your customers. It's all about delivering that positive experience, because positive experiences with shipping, positive experiences with the product, people will talk. Whether you have an official referral program or not, people will talk about you. And those positive experiences drive repeat purchases as well. Because again, they could go, yeah, this is a great t-shirt, but my God, it took forever to get here. I'm not ordering from them again. And unless it's like the greatest t-shirt in the world where they go, hey, I'll deal with it taking 3 months to get to me. Most people, stuff like that it's commodified, right? So you go, I can get t-shirts everywhere. This is a great t-shirt, but I'll go to some place where I can get it tomorrow, because people are impatient. So, I keep saying over communicate, but it really is making sure there are mechanisms. So if they have a question, they know where to go, and not necessarily picking up the phone. I don't know about the rest of you, but if I have to call somebody, I'm really pissed, because no, if I can do it online, if I can do it through an app, just leave me alone. I'm not going to call somebody. Calling breaks up the whole thing. I can do stuff online while doing other things. Focus group of one. All right, let's take a step back in the process. What happens when they start the purchase process and then leave, right? You got to recover those purchases. Cart abandon is table stakes for e-commerce. The checkout process is full of friction, whether you like it or not, whether it's intrinsically between, your ads and your website, and how many fields they have to fill out and how many pages they have to go through, and how can you streamline that? Again, it's like the old sign up form thing. For every question you ask, a certain percentage of people drop off from completing it, which I go quality versus quantity. But obviously for checkout, There are certain levels of information you need for somebody to purchase from you, obviously. But at the same, or just internally with the customer, right? Buyer's remorse can hit before you press buy. I've certainly done that where I get right up to the point of clicking the button and go, no, not now. And I walk away. But if you don't have a cart abandon program, or you do, but maybe it's just a single email or it's super basic, like take this opportunity to rethink, take a fresh look at these, because it is important. The goal here is to complete purchases, right? They're so close. They're so close to getting over the end of the line. But I want everyone to think about this as reminders first. My wife, I've been doing email for a long time. My wife is probably a half decent email marketer just by osmosis through me. She knows to wait an hour to see if she can get a discount. She's like, I do it for everything outside of Amazon. Every time I do it, I wait an hour and I see if they're going to give me a discount, because why not? Right? Are you going to pay full price? Or are you going to wait and see if you can get 10% off, 15% off? Maybe it is free shipping if you don't offer free shipping. So be helpful. There's a number of reasons. That's just one of the myriad reasons that people abandon carts. Sometimes people forget they're shopping at work and then their boss walks by and they have to go, oh, let me go to a different browser window. They get cold feet. Maybe their credit card didn't go through. Maybe your system didn't accept the credit card, like your system went down temporarily, what timeout, whatever it might be. And people go, I'm out. And they walk away. The goal here is to remind them and try to get them to buy without sacrificing your margin, if you can. If you're okay with sacrificing margin, that's up to you. But I'm always like, hey, if I can get them to buy at full price in the cart, why would I give them 15% back? If I, as a business owner, that's what I recommend. Like, hey, don't get too quick there. One email is a must. I like to do 3 as a starting point. So 3, the first one is just, hey, here's a reminder, you left a cart around. You can send it out somewhere around an hour, 2 hours, half an hour. You can test timing. Just depends on what you want to do there. And then about a day later, or 23 hours, 24 hours after that time they were in that shopping mind, I send a second one. And I like to get it to be, more around what questions might you have? There's a great example here. Why should they finish their purchase? Still thinking about it. This example here, we're here to help. This is where you introduce customer service. Maybe somebody just wants to get on a call. Go, hey, I'm thinking about this. How is this good? How is this good for me? What can it do for me? You can enable that with that second email. I call them reasons to believe. The number of times I've told my team, what are the RTBs? And they want to be like, shut up. And then that third email, if you're going to have an incentive, that third email, maybe it's a day later, 2 days later, again, timing, you can test. And I would say you can, depending on what you're selling, you may need more cart abandon emails, more of like, hey, you got this far, more of those reasons to believe you can break them up. Obviously, if it's a really big purchase, we have a client that sells an $18,000 product. It takes a minute for people to make that decision. So how do you get those folks to feel better about that? You introduce that offer at the third email so that you don't encourage the abandons before. If you're worried about gamification and constant abandons from the same people, because people, again, if they can get it at a discount, they will, no matter how much they love your product. You can, as a phase 2, add in logic that suppresses the offer from folks who've done a cart abandon and used the offer, like say last 6 months, 3 months, whatever that logical time period is for your product, right? Because some of your products might be you use it for a month and you need to buy again. Some of yours, they're going to buy this and they may not buy for another 18 months. You may not have logic there, but if you have somebody who consistently comes in, and I would say don't do this unless you have reasonable data to show that a lot of people do it, because you don't want the tail wagging the dog here. But ultimately, most people just need a reminder. But again, ask, what are the key reasons that we see for abandon? You'll likely see an uptick during holiday in Q4, right? Black Friday, you get more. That's like cart abandon heaven, right? It's like stealing candy from a baby, cart abandoned during Black Friday, Cyber Monday time every year, because you get the people that don't usually shop from you. They're going, well, do I buy this here? Do I buy this here? What do I do? So you pick up those. I will say the key question for you is, are you encouraging abandons? And what I say, the key example here is they don't do it anymore, but Best Buy about 5, 6 years ago for a little while did see the sale price in cart. So you had to add to your cart to see the true price. I'm willing to bet their cart abandon shot through the roof when they did that. So are you encouraging abandons by setting up processes where you sort of artificially inflate people putting things in carts? And then they go, I don't want that. And then they forget to clean it out. Or in some cases, I've definitely seen logic where I've cleaned out a cart and I'm still getting cart abandoned. So just ask yourself that question, and dive into those benefits at all times. Did you encourage to add features to enhance the email? Maybe there's a save cart function, a share cart function. Consider testing urgency messaging, right? Time limited offers, save carts, save carts might be expiring, inventory concerns, certainly. You can either do that artificially, or if you do have it tied in, you could go, hey, there's only 5 of these left. You better buy these. You could do that because FOMO is real. And then a little nuance here, cart abandon, and then there's checkout abandon. So there's people who fill a cart and then leave. Then there's people who get to the point where they click checkout, they're starting to get into the process, and then they leave the process. And I like to do one that's specific to checkout for first-time hand raisers. So the people who you don't have their email address until this point, they've raised their hand, they've given email, they've started giving you more information, and then they leave. This is sort of where cart abandon and welcome has a baby, right? So you have hey, you put this in a cart. Here's why you should love us. Here's why you should love us. You include both types of messaging. You can also, with checkout abandon, consider adding more urgency there because they were that close. They were that close to getting in there that you may not put in cart abandon right away. But ultimately, these are these little nuances where you think of, browse, add to cart, checkout. Cart and checkout are two different things. So start with a cart abandon because it covers both, right? It's just they filled a cart and they haven't completed a purchase. And then at some point, consider adding in a checkout abandon as well for those folks that were just like they were looking over the cliff and then backed away. Now, let's go back to the beginning with Inigo Montoya. Email sign up. Welcome programs. Why are they so important? Outside of an order confirmation and a shipping confirmation, your first welcome email will likely be the best performing email you ever send. Now, I say outside of order and shipping because if you look at your data, I'm willing to bet your shipping confirmation actually makes you a ton of money, which is funny to me. But people go back to that and go, oh, let me go buy other things, which in a shipping confirmation, you may not even be doing cross-sell. And order confirmation is the same way. Like, oh, I guess I need to go buy other things. But people are asking for email at this point, whether it's asking for a coupon code, whether it's asking for whatever it might be, but they're telling you, I want more information. Here's my email address. Give it to me. And first impressions are everything. If you don't deliver what you promise, trust is gone. So whatever that might be, if it's a discount code, if it's a free product in cart, if it's, hey, here's a free guide to, free winter catalog. Yeah, catalogs are still a thing. Whatever it might be, you got to deliver that and then go, here's what to expect from emails moving forward. Here, we'll send you things about promotions. We'll send you information about, we'll say why we're great, but but deliver that in what the customer feels is going to be beneficial to them. And, I would encourage, make sure you have at least one email to deliver this discount or whatever this promotion is or whatever this incentive is. You may want to just do a series. Now, the series can be as long as you need to. I worked in higher education for a long time. You could consider our welcome program, the automated program, to be, it was 2 years of emails in the automated fashion. Really heavy up front where we had like 10 in the first 30 days and then it started spacing out after that. So, you know, if we're splitting hairs here, but you could call that sort of an initial welcome and then a nurture, whatever you might want to call it for automations. But, a lot of people, they do like 3 emails in the first 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and then they're just into regular promotion. You may want to consider, and that's okay. If that's your business model and you want to get into regular promotion, you want to do discounts and everything else, that's fine. But if you're more of we don't discount our products, we're a valuable service, we do this, we do that, you use that time to really intro people before you start dumping them into your regularly scheduled programming, as I would like to call that. Because, the more involved, the more complex, depending on what you're selling, you need more communication overall. For welcomes, this is what you need to answer to your customer. What problems does my product solve? What am I a solution for? What is the value that I'll receive by being on your list? And what do you want me to do now? What's next? I keep coming back. I don't know if there are any West Wing fans on this webinar, but I'm a huge fan of that TV show, 1999 to 2006, showing my age. But that was a common theme is, okay, what's next? Okay, what's next? And that's what we're going for here. What's next? What is the next step for me to engage with your brand, to make a purchase, things of that sort? On the welcome side for you, what are the goals of your welcome program? Most of you, it's going to be, I want them to buy something. It's pretty standard, right? And you guide that around. When you talk about the goals and what's next, you guide that content around, this is what we're doing. This is the value we provide. Go get that value now, make a purchase. Those are the goals. Obviously, when you get to regularly scheduled programming, you're trying to sell something, of course. But you have to consider, is it a purchase? Is it an app download? Is it do they have to call in to buy from you? Or, can they call in to buy from you? You got to present all of those options. But then consider, not everybody is at the same place when they sign up for your email. Some folks, they're raising their hand, like I mentioned at the beginning. They're raising their hand and they're going, yeah, yay, I need stuff right now. I just want that last minute discount. And other people need to be sold. They need to be convinced. So your welcome program kind of has to straddle both lines. Doesn't need to solve for all of these customers. I would say start linearly, like they need to be kind of warmed up. We'll give them some early emails and content to get them to convert, and then they move over and we get them into more of a nurture. But ask questions, iterate, all those fun things. And I realize I'm taking my time, so I'm going to blast through the rest of this. You're probably going, we already have this. These programs drive so much revenue. So if you have them, go take another look, see if this matches up. Let's go through what I'm going to call a little bit of a lightning round. And these are 3 other programs that you can, if you don't already have, you can consider. And I put these in a little bit of priority order for where you can start next. These are ideas. You may have other things that you want to focus on. So customer win back. This is for the customers that have bought from you before. You do have a business where they can buy from you multiple times. They're not buying from you multiple times from your regularly scheduled programming. You pull them out. You remind them why they bought from you. You focus on those customer benefits, those RTBs, and you give them something that is functionally different than what you normally send. Because if it looks like your regular promotional emails, they're going to go, it's just another regular promotional email. I don't care. And they're going to tune you out. I would look at something like 3 emails over 30 days. You go, hey, and it's some sort of special benefit, offer, whatever it might be that's different from what you're sending. Like if you are always sending, I'm getting emails from a jewelry company that does 12% off for everything. And then they did a big Memorial Day sale and it was 12% off. And I'm going, that's a missed opportunity. So I wouldn't go with your regularly scheduled promotions, do something different. And maybe you don't do an offer and it's just, they bought from you 4 times and now they stop buying from you. Hey, what's going on? We want to find out what's going on. Like there's a lot of opportunity here with customer win back. Speaking of repeat, replenishment. For those of you who sell consumable products and I worked at 1-800-Contacts, it was contact lenses, and you had people who wore them like they're supposed to, people who stretched them, and people who wore them part-time. It was a really hard replenishment cycle to account for. So we started with the assumption that everybody wore their contacts how they were supposed to. And so if they had a 6-month supply, we started talking to them about replenishment in full 4 months in, things like that. But again, pull these folks out of your regular cadence and focus on refills, keeping stock, never running out. And you'll probably get some ideas from folks on, hey, I don't use it every day, or I didn't like it, or things like that. So replenishment, if you have a subscription program, you can layer that in as well. Like, hey, if you never want to run out, go to subscription. There's a lot of little pieces like subscription lapsed or whatever it might be. But if you're thinking about replenishment, you can pull those out and go, timing, how do folks line up? And should they start buying again? And lastly, you've probably, and again, 3 emails over 30 days, something like, it's a starting point, right? Lastly, I put browse abandon last. Obviously, this is for folks who have showed a level of intent on the site. The caveat here, and the reason I don't actually like it until your website gets big enough, is you don't have enough traffic, right? You need a big list. You need a lot of website traffic. Because right now, if you were, let's say you're a small business and you're getting, 10,000 visits a month and your list has 5,000 people on it, I'm willing to bet your browse abandon's going to 50 people a month, because it's got to match up. There's a lot of moving pieces there that have to match up for it to work efficiently. It's all about what the work is the juice has to be worth the squeeze. If you have a big enough website, in terms of traffic, if you have a big enough list, these work pretty well. I would also say, make sure you have your messaging hierarchy that pulls people out if they hit the cart, if they make a purchase, obviously, things of that sort, like, in terms of hierarchy, purchase, cart, browse, they've done nothing. So if you have a big enough, if you got a ton of traffic, you got a big enough list, which, you're probably talking at least 25, 50,000 people on your list and a bunch of traffic to account for that as well before you start getting into numbers that show it's worth spending the time to build 3 emails out for this. I would say put this last on your list for all the things we've talked about. All right. At the end, I realize I've gone a while. At a minimum, know what your customers have done with you. It's easier said than done, I know, but there is nothing worse than getting a promotion in an email for a product you bought yesterday. So know what they've done with you. Make sure your email program accounts for that. At a minimum, you can start with 30-day suppression. Like, suppress anybody who's bought in the last 30 days. You can do that today. Or maybe it's 15 days. If your cycle is pretty fast, you can change that time, but make sure it's a logical time frame where, again, nothing worse than, man, I bought that today. Oh, Black Friday, the deeper Black Friday offer hit tomorrow, and I'm being sold it because they didn't know I bought it yesterday. And I guarantee you your call center is going to get calls going, hey, can I get that discount? Can I get it retroactive? And your call center is going to be like, oh God, email did it to me again. On that same note, understand that you can only control what you can control. So become best friends with your website team. Because for all of the hullabaloo around AMP for Gmail and everything else, it hasn't really taken off. Purchases still need to go somewhere else outside of the email for 99% of things. So become best friends with your website team. Remember your website, because conversions happen there, or they might, happen in an app. So if you don't run the app stuff, become best friends with your app team. Play complimentary football, because you can generate 10,000 clicks and 1 purchase. Where's the problem? Website. So become best friends with them. They realize for everything that I've talked about today, every life cycle is different. It'll look something like this that I've talked about, but it'll be the nuances, the days, the timing, everything will be different, even for companies in the same industry, which gets really interesting because remember, customers experience brands differently. And then I would say if you have all these touch points or you're looking at different touch points, size your opportunities. Where are the people? Where is the money? Right? Then make sure these foundations are in place and then prioritize where you can get that bang for the buck because you don't want to just be building because it's shiny and cool. You want to build something that makes you money. So, what do my customers want and where can I make money? And then find what works for your customers. That's it. That's great. I hope there are some questions I can answer. In the meantime, you can find out about us, inboxarmy.com. You can use this QR code. And you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Scott Cohen on LinkedIn. It's whatever / Scott Cohen 13.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Scott. Like, I wish I had this when I started off in e-commerce altogether, just like very well laid out, step by step. So I absolutely loved it. And people will receive the recording and the slides. So really
Awesome.
recommend you guys going through it. Again, you can see what you already have, look at things that you can optimize. So yeah, this was absolutely fantastic. I think one of the key takeaways that was like stood out for me was the focus group of one. Like we all have fallen into that one where we like, and we, I've done this and my team done that. So we hold each other accountable when we say, well, many customers say that, or many, many, many. What does that many actually stand for? Because when you put it into numbers and look at the context, usually not many, they're just loud. So
Well, and that's the thing, right? You're going to have people who are loud, and you have to go, is there a thread, right? Is there a through line of everybody who's loud is yelling about the same thing, right? Because it's always like the loudest 1% and the quiet, and then there's the quiet one. There's the happy 1% and the mad 1%, and then there's the 98% in between that just goes, meh. But I'll give you an example of focus group of one. When I was in a previous life, we were sending out an email for an internal employee thing. And I went, why do we need all these instructions? People can figure it out. And then I sent it out and then promptly did not follow the instructions. And I'm sitting there going, I just did what I thought nobody would do.
yeah,
Focus group of
exactly.
one. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So I encourage everyone, just hold each other accountable. Are you being a focus group of one, two in comparison to everyone else? And at the beginning, you shared a data point that I think was that these flows that we just spoke about, the welcome series, abandon series, that it bring in about like 60-70% of automated revenue. I have a data point for you from Omnisend's Inside research from last year. And it showed that this specific series of welcome series and abandoned cart and browse abandonment flows, they bring in almost 90% of
There you go.
automated revenue.
There you
So
go.
guys, if you're setting things
I
up,
shoot low.
set these up. Yeah, I know. It just again just shows the power of automation. And yes, these are basics, but that's where your money is. So don't fall for like the shiny things. Like get the basics right, and then you will have the space to experiment and find out other things.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's just the money, right? I mean, make the money so that you can have time for the shiny objects.
Exactly. And we had a question from Josh about welcome series. So he asked, should you have a different welcome series for people who have purchased and for people who have signed up through a banning card or sign up on site, for example? Because currently they have one welcome series for everyone.
Yeah, I would say the welcome series in the one I'm talking about is geared towards people who this is their first hand raise, right? So yes, absolutely. If somebody comes in through cart and leave, that's that checkout abandoned. But you could do they came in through cart, you start with cart, and then you roll them into a version of the welcome series. Like maybe you skip the first couple because that delivers your incentive, but then you get into those. If your welcome series becomes nurture and things of that sort, you can roll them into that, right? And so yes, you should version. I mean, you start with your basics. The welcome should be, this is the first official hand raise. They've done nothing else. Then obviously the logic becomes that they make a purchase. If they go to cart, maybe drop them out. But yeah, you'll want to do that. So again, knowing what your customers have done with you, right? So it's like, hey, you did this. Maybe you add some, you do a cart abandon and you add a block at the bottom that has a bit of, hey, you're new here. Let me tell you a little bit more about this. And then the second one is, what questions do you have? Like you can get a bit more in depth. Um, I mean, and then you could potentially for your post purchase, for example, have a version for people who've gone through things and then have a version for people where this is their first hand raise and you get even more intensive on the reasons to believe and why they should feel good about the purchase they made because that is their first hand raise with you. So you go, well, they may have just bought impulsively and are now like, oh God, what did I do?
Absolutely. And one other thing when you were talking about transactional emails, I think like it's such a missed opportunity for upsells. And we actually had a success case with one of our brands that use Omnisend because we introduced this feature that is product recommender, but it's not just your best sellers or like things that people viewed the most, but you can actually personalize it to the person. So you can send a transactional email. Here's your order confirmation. And these are the items that are lookalike or like similar to what you browsed, or pulling from their past orders as well. So being like,
Mhm.
hey, in the past you purchased something, and this is something based on what you already purchased. So that is such a missed opportunity, and it literally gives me jitters thinking of like
Yeah.
how often
Yeah.
we miss that because people will open those emails. People will open those emails.
80, 90% open rates on those things, right? I mean, you sit there and go, what's wrong with the 10 to 20% that aren't opening it, right? Like, don't you want to go, oh, good. But maybe that's just me.
I know. Those people, I get it because we are so easily distracted. And then only like my friend, she only notices that something hasn't arrived, like if a week has passed. And she's like, oh, yeah, actually, I ordered that. I'm like, stresses me out. So I really feel you on that one. And something that also stood out when we spoke about the abandoned cart emails, and you said what your wife does, when you wait. And I think this is just, again, like your customers getting smarter and smarter. Everyone knows. Everyone knows that there's a big chance they're going to be getting a discount or an offer. I do the same thing, and usually it works. So I think I would encourage
I
you.
think it's
Yeah, go on.
it's the Ogilvy phrase, right? The Ogilvy saying that the customer's not an idiot, she's your wife. And I mean, customers are getting wise, right? Like, hey, if I wait an hour, I'm going to get 15% off. Or, hey, they're not. And the number of times people turn down like a $500 order because they don't want to pay 12 bucks for shipping is stunning. Which, if you think about like 500, 12.99, like, what? But they'll go, well, if I wait an hour, maybe I'll get shipping free, right? So there's there's obviously layers and testing components that can go into that, and what are the offers and which offers perform better, and do you need offers, and or how soon do you need offers? Like you could go into email two. If you're really desperate, you can go to email one, and that's fine. But again, it's how much margin you want to give up. So it's like, do you want to drive conversion? Is the conversion more important, or is the margin more important? And then you preserve your margin as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, like way back when I was working in consultancy, we would have these conversations with business owners being like, do you not become a discount brand? When people only purchase from you when you have discounts, even though they like your products, but they know if they wait for a week, there's going to be another offer. They wait another week, there's going to be another offer.
I had a client years ago that they didn't want to be a discount. And so we've gone, you've been doing discounts for a long time. You're going to have to go through short-term pain to retrain your customers. And they went, yeah, 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 we get it. 3 weeks of the month, no offers. Revenue was down. Last week of the month, offer. And then everybody bought in that last week. And I go, well, you're not retraining them. Now you're just training them to wait until the last week of the month when you get desperate. So if you are a discount brand, that is fine. But if you want to get away from that, tell your bosses, hopefully they know this, you're going to have some time where sales are down until your customer base realizes that's no longer who you are. And then they're going to make decisions of, was I buying from them because I love the product, or was I buying from them because it was on discount? And that's okay. But there's going to be short-term pain for long-term gain for that. Or you could go, we're no longer doing it every day. Now it's just in the States, we have the big five, right? President's Day, Memorial Day is a shopping holiday here, which every time I think about it, I go, that's really weird. Um, July 4th, which, yeah, our Independence Day is the shopping day. Labor Day, and then obviously holiday. So it's that those are the big five. I mean, I worked in mattresses for a long time. People buy mattresses over Memorial Day because that's when they're on sale. So,
Exactly. And it's just knowing your customers, once again. And I think when you have discounts, like something that I've seen is people, like the businesses run into that problem where they cannot rely on their data because they cannot really identify that life cycle because people wait for those discounts. So I'm like, when do I talk to them outside of that discount window? Right? So yeah, absolutely. It's gonna take time to adjust. And when you were talking about life cycle and understanding that side of things, like I thought about the brands, and that's a very common thing that I see to this day is, you look at your cash flow and you think, okay, just projections are looking really sad. So I will blast everyone with an offer. So you're completely ignoring that life cycle. And then you're getting some sales, a short-term boost in cash, but again, missing out on that long-term opportunity, talking to your customers at the right time.
yep. Yeah, in a previous life, we called it the pull forward effect, right? Were they going to buy 3 months from now? But now you pull them forward to now, which is fine. But then those sales are gone 3 months from now. So it's a balancing act.
Exactly. Well, I'm just gonna check if you don't have any more questions because we hit our time now. Looking good. Ira, thank you so much for all your help in the chat. And again, guys, you will receive the recording of this. You will receive the slides, all the resources that we mentioned. Also, we will include a link to Inbox Army's website. Contact Scott, ask his team for help. We cannot recommend them. So even more, sorry, down to cut off. We cannot recommend. Sorry.
Please recommend me.
We can absolutely recommend Inbox Army as our agency partners. And yeah, thank you, Scott, so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge with our customers.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I get excited about this stuff. I'm a nerd, so love it.
Same. Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you soon. Bye.